I mean, let's talk about the book, because this is, I'm so glad that someone has finally done this. You know, made a movie years ago called Ghost of Mississippi.
Yes.
And yes, yeah.
But you left out in which you played the great Myrlie Evers.
Yes, I forgot, yes. But now you've written about the family. Tell us why we need to pay attention to them as a family, and why now's the time for this book.
Well, the reason I wrote the book because I met Myrlie Evers Williams in person for the first time in 2018, and the thing she talked about off camera was her love and how much she was still in love with Medgar Evers. And I had just never heard, the intensity of that love moved me. But the reason that I want people to know them is, you know, James Baldwin, who to me is the greatest ever, you know, American writer, he said the great three were Medgar, Malcolm, and Martin. And he said Medgar. Medgar was one of those three, and he rode with him into the Delta. He did all of the things all great civil rights leaders did, but he did it in Mississippi, which is the most dangerous place in America to be black at that time. So I think he is a great hero, and he couldn't have done it without her love holding him down.
Yeah, and the kids, I mean, you know, she was extraordinary.
Yes.
And when you think about Medgar Evers being the very first, being the beginning, the first step, and somehow we don't have him in our zeitgeist. We talked about him in Till because he's in our movie about Emmett Till, because he was with Mrs. Mobley. But what do people need to know?
So you talked about Till. There was only a Till case because Medgar Evers went into the Delta and got people to testify. Very rare for a black person to testify against a white person. You could be lynched. The March on Washington, in which Dr. King said, "I have a dream," the one little quote that people like to pretend to use, his original version of that was given in Detroit, Michigan, before the March on Washington, in which he said, "I have a dream that one day the Emmett Tills and Medgar Evers of the world would be able to grow to adulthood in dignity." The term first-class citizenship that Fannie Lou Hamer says at the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party challenge to the convention, that's his language. John F. Kennedy, a fellow World War II veteran, uses his language in the speech he gives hours before Medgar is killed. He was literally going to Washington, D.C., had he lived, to testify for a Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act. When that Civil Rights Act, the Kennedy administration finally writes that bill, who does he hand that bill to first? Who does he put it in the hands of? Myrlie Evers inside of the White House when she came to mourn her husband. He is a part of each of these movements, trained the young activists, including young James Chaney, who gets killed with Goodman and Schwerner. He was trained in the NAACP youth leagues. This is the genesis of the civil rights movement, and he died 5 years before Dr. King, 2 years before Malcolm X. He was the first to die. She was the first civil rights widow. It matters.
It does. Thanks to host of MSNBC's Reid Joy. Read the book, Medgar and Myrlie. Medgar Evers and the Love Story That Awakened America hits shelves tomorrow.